Hello and welcome. My name is Brandon, and if you've watched a number of my other tutorials, I mention a lot of these keyboard shortcuts as I go along. I figured it would kind of be helpful if I put a lot of the most common keyboard shortcuts we'll put in one video so you can see what they do, and if you want to refer back to this you can, or you can just grab a piece of paper and write them all down as I talk. So in this scene I have created a sphere. Right now it's in wireframe mode. The keyboard shortcut for that is 4. If I hit 5, that's a preview shading. If I hit 6, that's a shading with the texture that I have applied. If I hit 7, that is a preview with the texture with lighting. So if I just put in a light here, you can see that it updates based on where my lights are pointing. So to select things, you can hit Q. That will give you your select tool, so you can click on objects. If I hit W, that's my move tool, so I can move these objects around. I've gone over these millions of times in my tutorials. You're probably sick of hearing it by now if you've watched them. E is the rotate tool. R is the scale tool. Okay. T is a tool that I use for manipulating lights. So you select it. It's similar to the move tool. However, you get a second manipulator for aiming the light, which is handy dandy when you're setting up a bunch of different scenes. Right now I'm going to go back and hit 6 on my keyboard to go back into this shaded mode. I'm actually going to just delete the light. Okay, so we've done a lot of extruding and things like that in like the dining room tutorial, and I use extruding a lot on a lot of my different models. So we're going to go over some keyboard shortcuts for that as well, or not for that, but that I use with that. If you hold the right click down over an object, you get this menu where you can go to object mode, edge mode, vertex mode, face mode, UV mode. I'm going to go to face. I'm just going to grab a face. I'm going to go to my polygons tab and click the extrude button that we've used before, and extrude. Now G on the keyboard is the keyboard shortcut to repeat your last command. So since extruding was the last thing I did, if I hit G on the keyboard, I can extrude again, hit G, extrude again, hit G, extrude again, and so on, forever and ever and ever. Now I have a growth on my beach ball. If you've done something else, like if you were to select a face and use this button, then when you select another face and you hit G, it's going to chamfer that vertex or face. Another thing I want to point out is we spend most of our time in the polygons tab, or polygons menu subset, and there's all these up here. A lot of times I'll spend jumping between polygons for modeling and animation for when I put in skeletons and bind skin to them and all that lovely stuff. So keyboard shortcuts for jumping between these menus: F2 will take you to animation, F3 will take you to polygons, F4 surfaces, F5 dynamics, F6 rendering. So you can jump between your two most common ones from here if you'd like. Or another option is, when we went over the intro to Maya, you tap the spacebar to get all 4 views up. What we never really went over is if you hold the spacebar, you get this menu here. If you're holding spacebar and you go over to Hotbox Controls and go click it in there and hold, and then go down to Show All, it'll show you everything. And this can be a little daunting if you don't know what you're looking for, but if you know kind of what this is, you can kind of pick your way through it. You'll notice that this second line down here has select, mesh, edit mesh, proxy, normals, color, create UVs, edit UVs. You may not know what they all do, but they probably look familiar from up here on your polygons tab, or on your polygon subset. If you go over to something like animation, you hit the space bar, you get the same hotbox, but notice on the animation menu subset you have animate, geometry, cache, create deformers, blah blah blah. Well, animate, geometry, cache, create deformers, edit deformers, blah blah blah. There you go. So you've got your animation menus, you've got your polygon menus, your surface menus, dynamics, rendering, cloth. So you've got all of those right here. So a lot of times, especially if I'm working with animation or whatever, if I want to smooth this out, instead of going up to animation, down to polygons, down to mesh, down to smooth, instead of doing all that, I'll just put my mouse over my object, select my object, hold space, go down to mesh, go to smooth, done. Okay. Now, if I was animating something for a video game, I would never smooth this. I would never use this button. But, so there's those. The other thing I want to point out that typically has made things faster for me, once you get to know whatever it is that you're doing, keep in mind Control Z is undo, Shift Z is redo. Okay. So, or Command Z if you're on a Mac. If I've got my mouse over this, okay, and I hold Alt, whatever, if I hold Control, or Command on the PC and right click, I get a completely different right click menu. If I hold Shift and right click on the object, I get another different menu. These menus will change depending on what you're doing. For instance, I could be editing this, I want a little bit more geometry. I can go up to Polygon, I can go to my Polygons menu, go up to Edit Mesh, go down to Insert Edge Loop tool, and then I can insert edge loops to add more geometry in a video game modeling friendly way. Or, if I've got my object selected, I can Shift right click, go to Insert Edge Loop tool. Okay, just saved me, 5 seconds, but if you save 5 seconds, 20 times an hour, you've just saved yourself quite a bit of time. So really, when you're starting out, I'd recommend, you learn kind of what you're doing and how to do it, and then find out the keyboard shortcuts for it, because in the long run that will save you so much time. I can't even begin to describe how much time it's going to save you. So, if I want to select an edge loop, I'm in edge mode. Say I've selected one edge. I suppose it's up here somewhere, but honestly I don't know where because I don't ever use it up here. Select one edge, hold Control or Command, right click, go to Edge Loop Utilities, the menu will change, go to Edge Loop. That will select your entire edge loop, which is helpful if you want to drastically change your geometry, or if you want to change the shape. Like, say I want to add a ring around here, I want to suck this in and give it some texture. Look, I don't know why. You just might want to do it. So I'm giving you the tools to do so. I know I've used this modeling mech robot type things or Mega Man type things where I want to add a little detail or a little groove all the way around a gun or some what have you. So those are some of the most common keyboard shortcuts that I use. The last one I want to point out is Control or Command A, which will bring up your attribute editor, which is where you spend a lot of time editing materials and so forth. I also want to point out that I've said this before, but every time you modify a shape, you get a tab up here, and that's kind of annoying. So if I go into object mode, select my object, go down to edit, and delete by type, and go over to history, that will delete all those tabs except the absolutely necessary ones to keep this shape. So you can do that to clean that up as well. That's about it. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and leave me a comment. But good luck and have fun with those.